Hey, Ben from Boston, you're on air.
Good evening. I'm not sure I can quite match the color of your last caller, but I had a point to make about belief and evidence. You often ask callers what evidence they have that God exists. My position is that I don't think I would believe in an omnipotent God even if there were lots of evidence.
Yeah, actually, P.C. Myers has made the same point, that there's no evidence that could convince him. And we've had a number of back and forths on this subject. I think P.Z.'s right, and I agree with your point. My thing is that, and I won't say that there's nothing that would convince me, because not only does that come off sounding closed-minded and impede conversation, but my thing is, if in fact there is a God, let's say, for example, the Christians are right, and there is an actual being, then certainly I would say that there is something that being could do which would convince me. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how this being would go about doing it. But it would be silly of me to deny that this God character, that with all the definitions they've got about its power and influence, etc., it could most certainly, actually, their idea of a God could force me to accept that it's true, right, beyond my will. So I won't say that there's nothing that could convince me. What I will say is that I'm not aware of anything that could, because no matter how preposterous something is, I cannot leap to supernatural justifications. But it may be the case that their God can, present such a compelling evidence that's beyond my comprehension, which would change my mind. Here's my problem with that, though. It doesn't appear to have happened for anybody else. And I don't just mean that, like looking around at the people in the audience. When you ask the average believer why they believe, it wasn't because of something that was extraordinary that could only be revealed by God, although there are some who will say that it was privately, this experience of God. It's always kind of tawdry what they come up with. So yeah, I'm on board with I can't think of anything that would actually convince me. But when I get emails from people saying, hey, what would convince you? And it's almost always from Christians, and my answer is always the same. I don't know, but you clearly believe that there's a God who wants me to know he exists, supposedly. And certainly I think that if your God, as you describe him, exists, that God should be able to convince me and would know exactly what it would take to convince me. So you need to go pray to that God that he'll do that. And if you think that it's going to be done by argument, pray to that God, have him tell you what to say, and don't write me back until he does. Because if your God exists and he tells you what to say and you write me back, you will have the easiest convert in history. But if you write back before then either you're lying about your God, or your God doesn't exist, or your God doesn't want me to know it, in which case I can write you off in every one of those scenarios.